Today I'm going to be talking about 3 mistakes that I made when trying to grow my business, and I'm sharing this in the hopes that you don't have to go through the same mistakes and that you can learn and just fast track your success. When I corrected these 3 mistakes, that's when things really took off for me. So stay tuned. Welcome to your Healthy Success Podcast. I'm Serenity Iris, and we're going to be covering the 3 mistakes that I made when trying to grow my business at various stages of growth. So the first mistake was distraction. And this is something I actually continually have to keep my attention and be aware of, right? So to keep my attention focused on what the main thing is. So distraction in the form of shiny object syndrome. Looking at this thing and that thing and coming from a place of almost like scarcity or desperation and feeling like, oh my gosh, the answer must be out there. So in my case, I went through all this training with naturopathic medical school and they didn't really teach much about marketing. So I thought, oh, that must be the answer. Got to learn about marketing. So what I did was I just binged everything I could, and I was hopping from this training to that training and these books and this podcast, and it was just a mess in my mind. Do you know that feeling of just feeling overwhelmed? There was chaos. I felt like, oh my gosh, why am I not doing all these things? And I was trying to do this strategy and posting here and this website and this webinar strategy, and it just didn't work. It just simply didn't work because I was looking at the wrong thing at the wrong time. There is a place for marketing for sure, but because it's only where 5% of our results come from, and if it's not on a solid foundation of the mindset, which is where over 95% of our results come from, and by mindset I'm also including our vibrational state, it just falls flat, which is what happens to me. So it was a very expensive mistake because I poured tens of thousands into marketing and also ads and thinking that was the answer. And when the results didn't come, when the extra bookings and the cash flow weren't increasing, it was devastating. It was devastating. So the good news is that I was able to course correct it, but that's going to be connected to the third mistake that I'm going to get into. But what I ended up doing was I got focused on the right thing. I got focused and I got tuned in to the mindset, but more on that in a little bit. So the second mistake I made is connected to skipping steps. So I'm going to take you through the 3 phases of the sacred growth cycle. So phase 1, no matter where you are, no matter what your business is, there will be a phase 1. This is your main thing. And if there's room to grow your main thing, you want to do that. You know, if you're just starting out, you don't want to just say, okay, well, you're going to start this thing and then you'll also start this thing and start that other new thing as well. Pick the one main thing, really nurture it, and allow that seed that you've planted to grow the roots and to sprout. And so phase 1 is about growing your main thing. So phase 2, this is where you want to make sure that your main thing in phase 1 is already generating really well, great cash flow, and that there's a momentum with it. So it's not going to take the same level of energy as it did when you were first starting to grow that. It's going, there's a momentum, wonderful. So then what you can do is in phase 2, you can start building a new revenue stream, or maybe it's you scaling to another level or growing and expanding your team. So it's going to be some aspect of new. So you're going to keep whatever the main thing was. And in my case, my main thing was my clinical business and seeing patients one-to-one. So the mistake that I made was I tried to skip over right into phase 2. I was like, well, I can see patients and I can build an online course. And I was trying to do both at the same time, and both were fairly new to me, especially building an online course. There's a lot of technical things. There's a lot that goes into it. It was exhausting. It was draining on my energy and attention. And what I then corrected was I I said, okay, this is not my main thing. I'm going to go back to my main thing, which is building up the clinical business, seeing patients one-on-one, getting that business going. And I did get it really going to a good level. So then I was able to transition to phase 2 much more gracefully. And so you're going to have more resources financially that will actually potentially open up some time for you when you do this well, when you transition to phase 2 well, will open up some more time and more resources for you, right? So that you have the cash flow coming in from your main phase 1 while you're building the new thing. Because when you start a new thing, it's going to require a higher level of attention and energy to just get it off the ground, to just get it going. So when I did that, I had my clinical business, that momentum, that plate was spinning. And then I introduced the online coaching and the consulting. So that's when I grew that. So then eventually, ultimately, I got them both going in parallel, kind of independent of each other, but in parallel, going really well. And then I entered phase 3. So phase 3 is where I was looking at the options. I could have kept going, or I could have chosen one to lean into or the other one to lean into. And I did choose to lean into the online coaching and consulting business. And I optimized for that. So phase 3 is about options and then optimizing. So because it's a cycle, ultimately then the phase 3 decision that you've made then becomes your new phase 1. So then that's your main thing, and you're going to grow the main thing and then bring in new aspects. So I've cycled through this a few times, the sacred growth cycle. I'm curious to know what phase you might be in. Are you in phase 1, phase 2, or phase 3 of your business? Let me know in the comments. And so I share this because knowing that there's this growth cycle helps to bring order to the mind, because when there's chaos, you really can't get too much done. And if you don't even know that there's an order, you end up skipping steps, which is what I did. I made that mistake of trying to jump right into phase 2 when phase 1 wasn't fully rooted. It wasn't as solid as it could have been. And so that ended up being expensive with my time and money, of course. So don't make that mistake. Know that there's an order. And of course, if you're like not loving what you do and you can make a clean break, and you're like, you're going to have the resources with your finances and time to just jump into your next new thing, there's a way that you can do that too. And I have done that as well. But what I'm talking about is you actually like your main core business, and you want to bring in a new aspect of it. So, all right. So mistake number 3, trying to do it alone and not getting the right mentorship at the right time. Oh my gosh, this is the most expensive mistake that I had made. And I say it was the most expensive, and I didn't quite understand the concept of this until I was on the other side of a fantastic decision that I made to get mentored. So every single month where your potential to earn, let's say, I'm just making up a number, it's an extra $20,000 a month in addition to what you're already doing. So if that's your potential, and if that's the gap from where you are and where you could be, every month that you don't close that gap is what it's costing you. So what I ended up investing in was the 95%, working at the level of the mindset. I had to take care of that. And then once I took care of the 95%, then the 5%, the strategy, the marketing, all of those pieces started to come together because it was on a solid foundation. But before then, I was spinning my wheels, and it was like I was hemorrhaging tens of thousands of dollars. It was very scary. And so really, really having effective mentorship at the level of the mindset. And this is in the early stages. This is as I was growing. This is to this day, right? I am working with mentorship for myself, because we all have blind spots that we don't see. So we want a great mentor, and this is what I help our members to do, is to catch those blind spots and then know exactly what to do with them. Not just talking about it. It's not enough to know about the mindset or read about it or hear about it in a podcast or a book or somewhere. But knowing effectively how to step by step shift it for yourself. That's a whole other thing. So I got effective mentorship, and I also observed that there were lots of people in these kind of mindset programs that weren't getting great results like I was. And the missing piece there is understanding how to implement. So based on some trial and error, bumping into things, making my own mistakes, course correcting along the way, I've figured out that there is actually a step-by-step method and a system which I take people through. And if you're curious and want to know more about it, go check out the free masterclass training where I go into some more depth, and it's totally free. Check it out and see if it resonates with you. So the mentorship was incredible. So on the other side of the decision, I made the decision to get mentored. My business grew substantially in basically a few months, handful of months. And looking back on it, I realized, oh my goodness, if I had made the decision to invest in mindset mentorship earlier, that income gap of tens of thousands every month would have been closed much sooner. And then that's when I understood that was what it was costing me. It was more expensive to not get that mindset mentorship than it was to invest the money. And it was significant. At the time, I felt like I couldn't afford it. And I had a money mindset that was very much coming from scarcity and fear and lack. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if this is wise, but intuitively I knew that this was it. This is the help I was asking for, because I tried it by myself. I thought I could learn my way out of it, and I couldn't. And the results always show what's going on a deeper level, at the root cause level. So I corrected that mistake, and things grew. So much so that a friend of mine was like, oh my goodness, how are you running 2 businesses, raising your daughter, you're looking happier and healthier than ever, and you're writing a book? What gives? What are you doing? What's the magic there? So I reflected, and I shared that it's really the mindset. I learned how to work with it instead of the mind sabotaging my efforts, which it was doing prior to having much more order around it and mentorship and guidance. Then once I got that mentorship, it was so key. So then I know what it feels like to be effectively mentored. And not only that, but pieces along the way that there were some gaps. And so I filled those gaps in terms of how to implement it in a way that is sustainable and brings joy and allows for the creativity to flow. So with you, I know that you have, if you've started your own business, you have this urge to share something that's unique, and there might be lots of other practitioners or coaches or healers or doctors out there, but you are here to do it in your unique, amazing way. And this is what I love helping to do in our communities and our members, is to draw that amazing genius and creative expression out of you, so that then you can help and serve other people with it. This is what I live for. It's so amazing. And then to have the process be easy to understand and know that there's a step-by-step process to follow, so that you can be in the joy of it, right? Doing what you love, so that it doesn't have to be so painful to get to this end result that's in maybe like fantasy land, but that every step of the way can also be really enjoyable, so that you're in your bliss, you're in your joy. while you share your gift. So if you resonate with this, I really encourage you to check out the free masterclass. You'll see the link in the description. Go ahead and click it now and check it out. It's there for you. And so if you can resonate with any of the 3 mistakes that I've made, or maybe you've identified that you're in phase 1, phase 2, or phase 3, pop it into the comments. I'd love to see, and let me know what you resonate with, because the more you do that, the more I can make future episodes that will help you out and help grow your business. So I'm super grateful for you. If you resonated with this, go to serenityiris.com to the website and check out the free masterclass training, and I will talk to you soon.